Meeting is now in order. Any items from the public? Forward, state your name, please.
Corey Rodriguez, 498 Woolen Mill Road. I just wanted to touch on a couple things real quick. First thing was the reason you guys tabled the budget last week, dealing with whether or not to add 5 additional sheriffs. When I look at it, we have 68 sheriffs. We have 12 state police, if that's correct. And then based on our population, we should have about 140 total. I understand you're only asking for 5, but I don't think that it's fair to put that on the taxpayers, because if you look at the numbers, 85% of our police force is through the county. The state, and I know it's hard to get anything out of the state is not contributing their part as far as our safety goes. And I understand that it's hard to get officers here because I'm sure we're not paying them anything, but that is a problem that the state should cover and should fund for us. I agree with Mr. Hardy. I don't think it's fair to go to taxpayers, whether it's $21 a year or whatever. I look at my property tax in 2015 was $16.98. My property tax last year was $28.08. I'm fine with my property tax going up, but I expect to see a return on my investment in the community, and I don't see that because our roads are overcrowded, our schools are overcrowded, we have a lack of doctors, dentists, the hospital we need expanded, we need options for seniors in our community. So I don't think it's fair to put it on us for that. And the other thing was, on I-81 last Wednesday, we tragically had 2 people killed in a horrific accident. I drive up and down it every day. I call it the 81 death ride. I don't say it to be funny. I say it because people die on that road every day. You look at where that accident happened, what would have happened if we had guide rail all the way down our road? Would that car have went through and hit other cars head on? You got to think, on I-81, you said it's like the Autobahn. You're exactly correct. People drive from 60 miles per hour to 100. The road is dangerous because there's only one smooth lane. It's the left lane. Everybody gets over in it, and it creates reverse flow of traffic. It creates road rage, and it's only going to get worse. If we can't, the DOH doesn't want to fund what we need on 81, we should do what Delaware did with I-95. We should request it to be turned into a turnpike. We charge tolls, $5 a car, $10 a truck. West Virginians are free. You figure out what to do with the neighboring communities. We use our TIF district to build a turnpike headquarters to run everything out of, the police, the maintenance, right on 81. Overlook it, and that's what we need to make 81 safe. I thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, need a motion to approve the modified agenda, as we'll be removing items number 5 and 6 from the consent agenda.
So moved.
Sorry, approve the what? Approve the what? What?
No, I'm sorry. Well, we're removing items number 5 and number 6 from the agenda. We do have a motion on the floor to approve the modified agenda.
Second.
Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Any questions on the purchase order log? You will notice some changes this week to your purchase order log, that the credit card use is now on there as well.
Just one quick
thing. I did receive a call from Delegate George Miller in regards to a check that was given to the Back Creek Valley Tomahawk Ruritan, and was sent here, and
It's on the purchase order.
it is on the I was going to say it's on the purchase order log, and I made the phone calls to let them know that that will be cleared through our purchase order log this week, and they can be get that check within a week or so.
Just so you know, Mr. Hardy, that's a very slow process. When those funds are received here, you have to get in the bank, you have to get online, get through a state budget revision, get approved by the state, and then disperse.
We're nothing
It's
more
not
than a
fast.
pass-through entity. That's all we
Very
are.
slow.
So it is a slow process. But they did call, and just wanted to assure them that we looked into it and got it taken care of. So.
Okay, Mr. Wan, we have some internal budget revisions.
You do, Mr. President. The first one is from Michael Withrow from Extension Service, requesting approval to allow the transfer of $5,000 from their contract line item to their materials and supplies line item. And the second one is from Mr. Hess, the assessor, to transfer $1,000 from contributions to their materials and supplies line items, and the funds do exist for that movement.
Very good. Thank you. Have a change in status, new hire recommendation received from Tim Zaya, Director of Community Corrections, for Amanda Gavin as a grants administrator effective 4/14/25 with an annual salary of $63,000. New hire recommendation received from the Honorable Shelley Shopper, Circuit Clerk, for Megan Hitt as a deputy clerk effective 3/31/25 with an annual salary of $39,500. Change of status received from the Honorable Joe Kinzer for correction to a miscalculation on the pay rate for Ashley Halfley, Administrative Assistant 2, to change from $40,000 to $41,500 effective retroactive 5/15/24. And Garrett Robertson, Assistant Prosecutor 1, to change from $89,700 to $90,000 effective retroactive to 7/6/24. March 13th, everyone was present. Next down is the engineer's request for bond release for Archer's Rock Phase 3 Final Plat, BCP File 2305-170, tied to 2305-177. 2108-290 and 2101-018, bond AL 103033. Engineering Department makes that request. Bond reduction for Caliber Collision, Grading and Stormwater Management, BCP number 2411-343, tied to 2409-269, 2307-251, and 2401-007. And that's LOC number 1002977. Engineering makes that request. We do have a stop payment for the county clerk's office. It's in your read ahead. We have a proclamation from the Red Cross, which, if you remember, the Red Cross came before us last Thursday. But today we do actually have their written proclamation. And if you don't mind, I'll just read in the last section of that proclamation. Whereas the Berkeley County Commission does hereby recognize this month of March in honor of those who have led with their hearts to serve people in need, and we ask that everyone to join in a commitment and to strengthen our community. It was adopted on this date, March 20, 2025. Next up is the COSAP grant, which is also in your read ahead. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Next up is our Honorable Assessor, Larry Hess. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Morning.
I got a little bit of everything today. First thing I have is taxpayer error exonerations. We had 3 of them. They reported vehicles and they claimed they didn't have them, but we had to bring them to you as taxpayer errors. So we have those three. If you the total of all three of those, come up to $365.10 for those.
Okay. As presented by the assessor, the three taxpayer error personal property exonerations in the amount of $365.10. Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Those opposed?
No.
Aye.
Good.
Those have it, sir.
Thank you.
What you got next?
Next thing I have would be office error exonerations. We have a total of 14. And for the reasons that's listed there, you can see that most of them were double billed or that type of thing. But one of the things I want to mention about these, and I think I've mentioned it before, and you probably already know this, but when we show that, like, say, if you have an exoneration of $300, if it's a total bill exoneration, we make up another bill for the difference. So it's not, when you see a $300 exoneration, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a $300 exoneration. It's, we make up another bill to make up the difference. But we got to get rid of the whole bill most of the time. So that's the way most of all these are in this 14. But at any rate, if you total up all 14 of those, they come up to, give me a second here, $3,217.50.
So what you're saying, sir, is like when we have an exoneration here for $690.76, there could have been a mistake of $125, so you would have got rid of that bill, and then you would have executed a new bill for minus the amount.
$500 or let's say, or whatever. So it shows the total exoneration amount, but that's not what's coming out of the
Total loss is not that.
yeah.
Except for the ones here that say they were paid in another county.
No, that one's not either. That we got rid of that whole bill and made up and just exonerated it. Well, yeah, because
Well, I'm saying there's no new bill for those. 'Cause
no,
they were
not
paid
for
in
that
another
one.
county.
No,
Right, right.
you're exactly right. Yeah, not for that one.
Okay, you've heard the exoneration request from the assessor for the 14 personal property exonerations in the amount of $3,217.50. Need a motion?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Good, thank you. The last thing I have is two for the real estate. We had to exonerate two for real estate. One was an incorrect tax class, and the other one for $93,679. It's the same thing. We had one of these last year, if you remember, for commercial property. It was 4-unit apartment buildings, and there was like 2 of them, let's say, or whatever. But there's an area in our IES system that if you have identical units, let's say you had 9 4-unit apartment buildings, you could plug that number 9 in there, and it'll calculate that building 9 times. That's what happened with this one. It's it was a townhouse, but it got, I think it was number 9 put in that spot, and it calculated those buildings 9 times. So it's, I hate to see these, but it's just a mistake. We got to correct it.
Very good.
So, total amount of those 2 comes up to $95,379.95.
As presented by Mr. Hess, the 2 real estate exonerations in the amount of $95,379.95.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in, second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
That's all I have. Y'all have a good day.
Board meeting report. Mr. Boyd.
Yes, sir. Had a couple meetings this week. Had a Main Street meeting on Monday. And they've had a lot going on down there. They have a lot of new board members, some different things going on. Of course, as you know, the St. Patrick's Day event was this past weekend. Turned out to be the largest one they've had yet to date. It was the 4th annual. They're still waiting on the exact numbers of how many people from the CVB on that. They have that app that tracks how many cell phones were in certain areas and whatnot, and so they can know exactly how many people were there, or pretty close to. But they had record sales in beer sales this year. They changed up some things and went from keg beer to canned beer, and they upped their sales from approximately, I think, $24,000 to $37,000 in beer sales at this event. There were no problems. Everything seemed to go well. They did move the location of the stage this year because of construction on Burke Street. But everything seemed to go well, and they were publicized in a state magazine or a state article that says it's now West Virginia's largest St. Patrick's Day festival in the state. So they were,
After 4 years?
yeah.
Are they charging Camden Yard prices on that beer?
No.
No?
$6.
$6. They did up at
Just
one.
curious.
They did up at $1. It used to be $5, but they said that was helpful for tips, and they do not actually give the tips to the volunteers who work. They keep them towards the organization. So I guess that helped as well towards sales, because that money goes into sales money. But breaking that $1 sometimes helps, and people tip more when they got 4 ones in their hand, I guess. They're working on, the board is working on a new employee handbook, so there's consistency with the employees there at Main Street for future employees and current employees. They are now getting ready to start working on the wine festival that will be coming up here in May. Their balance right now this year is down just a little bit from last year, but they had not accounted in yet St. Patrick's Day numbers, so they're actually probably pretty far ahead of last year. Their total assets are sitting around $34,000. I had a roundhouse meeting last night. The electrical project is finally starting to move forward. There's a meeting Monday, or this Tuesday at noon, with Potomac Edison and the electrical contractor to hopefully finally finish the second electrical upgrade of the bridge and machine shop so we can get this HVAC system online and working. The elevator project has been proposed to be finished by the contractor, even though there's an outstanding balance there because of a change order due to error by the Alpha and Associates design. The contractor just wants to get the project done. They said they'll leave an open-ended bill to be paid whenever. We've been back and forth with the state to try to see whose fault this is and who's going to have to pay for it if there's extra money, or if Alpha may pick up the bill. But in the meantime, we're pretty sure we're going to go ahead and move forward with having this project completed so we can get and start making an income from that building. You know, it's been dragging out. Should have been done last year. But between the electrical and the elevator, it's been a big hang up. Rail Fest coming up May 10th. Heritage Festival weekend, 16th, 17th. That's also to kick off of the night market. And then there'll be the Patsy Cline show that we're teaming up with the Apollo for again this year at the Apollo on May the 18th. And then again, the home show coming up on March 29th and 30th. So a lot going on there too.
Sure is.
And I did miss my home custodian meeting Tuesday morning, unfortunately. But I'll try to follow up with Corey to see what I missed there.
Thank you. Commissioner Hardy.
Quite busy with meetings this week. Had a planning commission meeting on Monday night. There was 3 projects moved forward. I guess the most one that had to show the most interest was Project Carmel, which is the data center that was being built down by the hospice facility. And there was some discussion about that, water usage, access, and noise lights and such. So there was some good discussion with that project on the planning commission. I had a Board of Health meeting, Berkeley, Morgan County Board of Health meeting was your pretty standard health meeting, just kind of updates on vaccinations and no major outbreaks of any type of diseases or anything in the area. It's just kind of went over some of the sanitary and stuff. But one thing that has happened out to the health department, they had a break-in. Someone broke in through one of the windows, spent some time in the building, really didn't take much. So they have a little concern that their parking lights are not working. So they asked me to mention that maybe if we could get our staff or we could look into maybe trying to get them some help to figure out how to get their parking lights working. So they have some more light out there. Seems that the criminals came in through one window and went out through the construction area, but wasn't a lot missing. So, and then my last meeting was HEPMO, the MPO, which is really deals with roads in Berkeley County and Washington County, Maryland. That's quite a confusing board to be on. It's a lot of acronyms and a lot of moving pieces and parts. And I'll be honest with you, I don't understand all of it yet. I'm working on trying to get my head around exactly what they do and how they do it. A lot of it's federal money, trickle down state money. There was two West Virginia projects that were mentioned. One was some grading study for 45 heading out towards Blue Ridge. And then there was another study, I believe, for safer transportation for Edwin Miller. Apparently there's quite a few accidents on Edwin Miller Boulevard. And I guess there's a lot of stuff happening there. So quite a few accidents there. So that was the MPO board. And
What was the first three?
it was Route 45 heading towards the college. And that's all I have to report.
Very good, thank you, sir. And just to let you know, they're already working on the lighting.
That's great.
Yep. Mr. Whitaker?
Yes, sir. First meeting I had this week was the Airport Authority meeting. One of the items that they were trying to do is become a member of that CAA, which is the corporate aircraft or co-op, to be able to sell fuel to other transient jets to those within their corporation or co-op. We did get that certification. They're proceeding with the upgrading to the taxiway Echo, which is the one that parallels the one runway on the south side of the airport. It needed to be upgraded, widened, and strengthened for the larger aircraft that have been used there, whether it be the corporate world or the military world, because the footprint of the wheels underneath the aircraft are close to the edge, and they want to make sure that whenever one of the pilots come in, that the runway's wide or the taxiway's wider and stronger for the larger aircraft. So that's underway through the FAA. They're looking at the final print of the engineers for that. There was a couple entities looking at Martinsburg to bring other services there that not really for publication yet, but they're still in the beginning stages of it. It looks real promising, and I think when that happens, it'll definitely benefit the economy out there. The three schools, they're looking to get the funding from Charleston to help in that facility that for Marshall, Shepherd, and Blue Ridge. They're going to be in conjunction with hopefully starting a couple of maintenance schools, aviation career schools, as well as administrators. That's about the three or four main items that's going on. So it looks real promising. The fuel sales are always down this time of year because there's not a lot of traffic out there for the smaller guys. Have the right weather to go. And then after that, I had my EPTA meeting, the Panhandle Transit Authority. The site permit had to be reworked and was just released in the stormwater bypass re-engineering works out there. There has been a little bit of a slowdown on the project, but I think they're working through it. They're going to have an answer to some of the questions here coming up. They have to have an independent cost estimate. They call it ICE. When I was first heard ICE, I thought, no, what we got going on with ICE? But it's called an independent cost estimate, and that's one of the things they're waiting on for this. For the not so much a change order, but for the but for some changes that have to be addressed in the project. What else? They had a good report for the low risk and mechanical and training was all been taken care of. They have a couple of buses that I think Harper's Ferry run. They're looking to put in the electric terminals for Harper's Ferry runs, and we were kind of in the works to help facilitate that with a contract with Harper's Ferry. And those are about the main items. And my last meeting was last night, and I had to attend part of it on Zoom. And the first beginning of it is a little bit difficult because I was in another meeting, listening to that meeting, and just kind of had my ear whenever I could. They seem to be doing pretty good. They had a couple legislative items that they were concerned with, and I did reach out to let them know if they needed a contact down there to get a hold of me or somebody in the office, and we would try to work out some help with them. Clint has been really instrumental in making sure that good legislation is being passed for the solid waste authorities all over the whole state. So like I said, I reached out to him, told him that we'll help out in any way that we put on the list later. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Kelly?
Probably like most of you, you've gotten several calls about Exit 12 out there and why the state hasn't started working again, but
They started
we
back.
the last couple of days they've been there paving, so I even had a call from the governor's office about it, and so I guess somebody's lit a fire, but it's being paved and hopefully be done here soon. Also, as of every Friday during this time of year, I was on a conference call statewide with the County Commission Association talking about legislative things. I won't bore you with all that conversation, but it's always a good hour and a half conversation about the different bills. And I do want to compliment the CCA staff for the way they follow up on things and track the bills and all and keep us informed really well. So I appreciate that. On Wednesday, I had a school safety meeting. I want to thank our fire department, our emergency services, Sean and Randy, our sheriff's department. They attend, and 911, Jennifer as well. They attend those meetings monthly, regularly. For the last 3 weeks, they've been going into the schools, and they're teaching our young people about, not just about drugs, but about guns. If you happen to see something, hear something, they teach them about all the concerns, health concerns that they could have, and they try to prep them before they get into the middle schools at this young age. And it has a tremendous impact. And what they've done is they've involved high school students to participate in the skits and all that they do about different problems. And the kids really relate well to those people. So they're going to touch, by this Friday, they'll have been in 20-some different schools over the last 3 weeks. And it's a terrific program. I actually attended one last year at Rosemont, and I was very impressed with it, and they do a great job. So I did miss my MPO meeting yesterday, but John was there, and noteworthy. I missed the meeting because I attended a memorial service, and I wanted to mention this publicly. The passing of Robert Bob Schickel. He was a Hedgesville pillar of our community, and 93 years old, but he gave his whole life to the community out there at Hedgesville, whether it be through coaching kids in their youth. He was the last living chartered member of the Hedgesville Volunteer Fire Company, and he was involved with the church, the cemetery association, everything. Just a great human being. I want to thank the Hedgesville Volunteer Fire Company. They hosted the reception after the service and fed everyone. They had the trucks there with the flag on, the ladder trucks there, and did a really nice job of honoring Bob and his sacrifice to our community over all these years. And hats off to the Hedgesville community and the Hedgesville Volunteer Fire Company. So, but just a great human being, Bob Schickel. So we're going to miss him tremendously. Thank you.
Well, you talk about a lifetime of giving. You know, they were organized in 1956.
Yeah.
So that's when,
I have pictures of when they opened up the fire hall there, and the chartered members all standing there taking their picture, and Bill Porterfield, Craig Blair's grandfather, was one of the members, and there's quite a select group of dignitaries in the Hedgesville area, but that was a big deal. I have pictures of the first pumping truck they ever got in that community, and they were out in front of the thing spraying water up in the air. They were so happy and just celebrating. But it's quite a, when we were kids growing up in that area, the biggest thrill of the summer was the Fireman's Festival, and they held it down at the elementary school. And I mean, literally thousands of people would show up for this thing. They would cook homemade soups and homemade ice cream all week and sell it, and it was a big fundraiser for the fire department. And that's how they paid for a lot of the equipment those days. And it was just it's been a good community thing there. And of course, now they're in the news station, we call it. They're, closer to 9 East, further east, but the old station served its purpose for many years. And we appreciate those volunteers that continue to do that. So.
Yep, absolutely. They've done a tremendous job in these communities. Actually, that's when South Berkeley began also, was in 1956. So this guy's been around a long time serving the public. So I want to thank them for that. I had a meeting actually on WRNR this week with Laura Hoffmaster, and they had a bunch of questions about the comprehensive plan. So obviously she's knee deep into that plan. So I asked her to go with us or go with me to help explain all of that. Had a Parks and Rec meeting this week. They've been working real hard on the DuPont soccer fields. It actually gave one of the fields a rest to try to get it revamped and reseeded and all that, so hopefully it'll be good to go. They leveled out another area down there that they can use as a new practice field. Tough Man competition they held last week was successful. They plan an open gym the week that the school system is closed down, April 14th through the 18th, and that will be at the rec center in town and the Randy Smith Center. The gyms will be open during that week. Also, they made a change in the June Jubilee car show, which will now be held at Lambert. So a little bit of change there because of space and the success of that program. They really ran out of space for the automobiles. Gary and I had a health department construction meeting this week. As Commissioner Hardy mentioned, there was some destruction out there, but we're working on getting the lighting appropriate. They're finishing up probably about 2 weeks, I think, or so. They'll be ready to turn the building over. They're finishing up the power, HVAC. The flooring is down, so they're coming along real now, and that's been a real nice project, and it's coming along very well. Also, we've just 99% complete on the old jail that's been converted to a courtroom. The judge and her staff, they are in the building now, and she's not yet had any court sessions, but it turned out really nice, and I appreciate the work that's been done there. And also, Gary, thank you for your attendance and contributions in bringing that to a close. But next up, Commissioner Hardy, if you would, yes. We have an honorary county commissioner, Matthew Billmeyer.
Can I get you to come over here and stand? Right here. Get you to raise your right hand. Swear you in here to the oath of office. I, Matthew Billmeyer.
I, Matthew Billmeyer,
Do swear
that
I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of West Virginia,
the Constitution of the State of West Virginia,
that I will work hard to fulfill the responsibilities
that I will work hard to fulfill the responsibilities
of the office of Honorary Commissioner,
of the office of Honorary Commissioner,
to which I have been appointed.
to which I have been appointed.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right, thank you very much. Got a little citation here for you that's been signed by all the commissioners. And if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you go to school, and maybe what your future plans are.
So I go to school up the road at St. Joe's, and I do cross country and I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe I don't really know what I want to do
That's
yet.
fine. You're young and you've got plenty of time to figure it out, so don't worry about that. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I like art and I like to play sports like football, soccer, really anything.
thank you very much for being here with us today. And as we're working through our meeting here, if you something that comes up that you have some input on, please feel free to speak up and be a part of our team today as we work through our agenda. All right.
Next up, we have a Board and Commission interview for Garland Elliott for farmland protection. Nope, not here. I was thrown off a little bit by his name. I didn't know his given name was Garland, but that's put Elliott to most of us. Okay, next up, in Chad Weinberger, Deputy County Administrator, and the Engineering, Planning, and Building Inspection and Restructure.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
I have Brian Ross with me. This is a project that him and I have been working on for quite some time now. As you all know, John Dick retired November of 24. He was your code official, also handled the bulk, if not all, of your commercial building inspections. When you have an employee who has been around for that long and has been so ingrained in the department, they retire, that sort of leaves a void of how we restructure and how we fill these things in. Very early on, Steve Abereg was identified as somebody who could step up and take on the duties of the code official, which if you do not have a code official, you cannot operate. So Steve jumped in very quickly. He needed 2 certifications. We anticipated Steve would need months to get these certifications, and Steve is a go-getter and had them done in less than 45 days, I believe. Maybe even faster than that. Debbie Watt, who's been with the county for a long time, has stepped up to handle your commercial building inspections, and that volume has a lot of fluctuation to it, and it's obviously requires working a lot closer with the fire marshal, and there's a lot more involved with some specific areas of commercial building inspections. So Steve and Debbie have stepped up to fill that role. Part of this restructure is proposing that we move Steve permanently to the position of code official, and Debbie will be moved to a building inspector 3, which is a combination building inspector who will handle all of your commercial building inspections. Their proposed salaries are listed on here at the end of this memo for you. Along with this, we've also been having a lot of discussions about the overall structure of engineering, planning, and building inspections. Brian, as the Director of Community Development, has really from time to time been stretched very, very thin. I know that he goes through a lot of stress when it's time to take vacations. Brian is probably the only employee here that is able to go head-to-head with Gary with who gets to the office first. And he carries a lot of weight. We've identified a need to bring a deputy director's position into community development. That is a small team who does a lot. They lift a lot of weight with a few people, and to be able to have a deputy director in that position would pay dividends time after time. The common sense move for this is Laura Hoffmaster, who has been operating in this position unofficially for quite some time now. As you know, Laura has stepped up. She is taking over and running your comprehensive plan program. She is by Brian's side. They're working together every single day, fixing issues as they come up, proactively writing policy to keep issues from occurring and keeping that ship afloat and moving in the right direction. I'll let Brian speak a little more to that because I know that he has a little more to add. But the request today is all budget neutral. These are all salary monies that exist within the budgets of these departments. This is not adding any salary monies to your budget. This is a reallocation of monies that already exist under planning, engineering, and building inspections. Brian, do you have
He did a great presentation. I'd just like to compliment my staff because whenever John announced that he was retiring in the fall, automatically I had people step up to know that we need to keep this rolling. And, you know, it was done with very little effort on my part of demanding a request. Like, I want to do this. And that's a compliment to my staff, knowing that the end user, which is the public, is the one that gets complimented by our services.
Well, I've been checking with Brian for probably at least the last 2 years because I knew he's been taking on a lot. And I'm like, are you sure you don't need help? No, I'm okay. Well, I'm glad that, because I felt as if we were being unfair to you because of your dedication and loyalty to your job. Sometimes we forget other things. And I think this is a very good move to get you an assistant and help carry that load. And you know, I've seen Laura work very closely with her with the roundtable discussions involving the subdivision regulations back a year ago, or near a year ago, and just how she was willing to listen and communicate and then find ways to get what they needed, but yet at the same time understand the request from those folks that were involved in a roundtable. So it was a very good project, and now, you know, she's working with the comprehensive plan. So, what else? Have anything questions for Brian or Chad?
I don't have any questions. I just, as a new commissioner and was a longtime member of the Planning Commission, and then when I came back from Charleston as a new commissioner, I was picked and tasked to be the commissioner to oversee the Planning Commission. I know how hard that you guys worked, and commend you, not only your staff, but commend you too, Brian. It's a very hardworking staff and not a lot of complaints. It's one of the things that, you know, being in the business, I speak to a lot of developers, a lot of builders. They're very complimentary of your staff and on both sides of the hallway. And I too also understand the amount of work that you guys put out. I think that this is probably a move that needs to be made, and people that have been doing the work that now we are going to compensate them for. They've been doing that work for some time, and they've stepped up. And I think it's this commission's purview to make sure that we are running our offices as efficiently as possible. And sometimes when you're running them efficiently, you're running them a little understaffed. So we need to make sure that we're taking care of our staff in all ways. So just thank you to you, Brian, and to all your staff on both sides of the hallway. Planning Commission meetings run smooth. If there's any kind of questions that ever come up, you know, Doug's always there, Laura's there, you're there, someone's there to answer those questions. So I appreciate that as being the commissioner that oversees the Planning Commission.
We appreciate you and your staff, Brian. Thank you. I've watched you in action for over 2 years now. But we appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Very good. Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, sir. Next up, you have emergency management reorganization.
Yes, sir. So, as you're aware, the fire department is expanding substantially. With the expansion of the fire department, we have to look at structure of how it exists right now versus how we believe it should exist. And for, you know, years and quite frankly, since the beginning of the fire department, it has existed under emergency management, which that structure worked for a long time. It allowed a small group of responders to perform public safety tasks under one umbrella. It was very efficient. But as the fire department continues to grow, those functions of fire and emergency management really need to separate, and we can't have those blurry lines anymore. It's important that we look to stand the fire department up for its mission, for its specified mission, with a specified department head, and it's important that we maintain the services of emergency management and what they are structured to do. Throughout most of the state of West Virginia, emergency management operates and falls under the umbrella of communications, and that is the proposal in front of you this morning. We are proposing to move your 2 employees that are assigned under emergency management, which is Director Randy Lilly and Sean Wolford, who's emergency manager. We are proposing to move them under emergency communications. Will not change their duties, will not change their job titles. They will move under emergency communications. You're currently reimbursed right now for 50% of their salaries every year through the emergency management performance grant. That will not change. What will change is the 50% of the salaries that you are paying right now out of the budget, the salary budget for emergency management is going to be absorbed by the 911 fee. By absorbing that money through the 911 fee, it will free up 3 FTEs where we will be able to hire additional firefighters. The model that we are moving towards with 24-hour fire staffing, we have to have a set number of firefighters above minimum staffing to cover things like illnesses, vacation time, any unplanned absences away. If we don't budget for those things now, we will suffer it in unplanned overtime down the road. So this is all a cost control measure as the fire department continues to grow with forecasting what they know we're going to need and looking for ways to free up salary monies without adding additional burden to the budget, which this proposal in front of you captures today.
Chad, I can tell you that with my past experience with Randy and Sean in emergency management, that would be a very smooth transition. They work very, very closely already with Jen and her staff on multiple levels. So that will be a very easy transition there.
I believe so too.
Yeah. Boss, have any questions for Chad on that? Okay, need a motion to accept the recommendation from Deputy County Administrator.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. And next up, Chad, is the RFP for the interior reflective film.
Yes, sir. The 24-25 court security grant funds were allocated this year to provide security reflective window film on the east side of the Judicial Center. Every year when that grant funding is applied for, it is required that occupants of that building get together with Elizabeth. They do a needs assessment, and then that assessment is turned into the state to apply for funding. This year, the assessment was to provide better security for the first floor windows from pedestrians walking along the building, to not only provide privacy, but this film also provides an additional layer should somebody attempt to break the glass to gain entry into the building. This film is designed, I believe it's to buy up to an extra 90 to 120 seconds for people to leave versus what a standard glass break would be. You received 4 bids. 3 of the 4 bids qualified with the product. The lowest bid did not qualify. It was only for reflective film and had no security component. The next lowest was Jack of All Tints, which is a really cool business name. They go by Jote, and so we reached out to them. We verified their product. We verified that all 3 remaining bidders were bidding equal products, which they were. Jack of All Tints qualifies for the entire scope of the bid, and we are requesting that they be awarded the bid. We are requesting they be awarded for the full grant amount of $16,875, which is above their bid amount, which will allow us to work with them to get additional windows done under the same scope.
Very good. I know that's been something that has been requested by the folks in the Judicial Center for a while, so I'm glad that we're able to get that accomplished because it does create an issue for them with security as well. So, okay, need a motion to accept the bid recommendation from Chad on the security of the, and hopefully award a contract to Jack of all tents.
Mr. President, I move that we would accept the bid recommendation from Jack of All Tent and move forward on the project.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Anthony Delegetti on the 301 Winchester Avenue pilot assignment.
Thank you, Mr. President. This commission's aware you have 3 payment in lieu of tax agreements for the redevelopment project of Interwoven Mills with the monument companies. There are 3 phases, and each time they get a loan for the redevelopment, and to amend the pilot in any way or to transfer the rights under that has to come back before you. And all this does is there's a $20 million loan for this phase, and should the lender have to foreclose on the project, they can step into the foot of 301 Winchester Avenue LLC, step into their shoes, and then still be under the pilot and not be subject to regular taxes. So that's all this does. You have any other questions?
I know they're in their second phase. The first phase, I think, was 200 apartments, and they're currently on the second phase on the Winchester Avenue side, so.
I don't know where they're gonna park everybody once they get another phase done, because, I mean, that place is full now with the first phase done. It has been a nice improvement for the city of Martinsburg, to say the least.
Absolutely.
That sure is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lived here my entire life, and I don't really ever remember those buildings being operational. That was kind of before me, but it sure is nice to see all that work going on up there and those buildings being rehab, so.
You're just not quite old enough.
I'm 51. I believe my mother worked there making socks.
I bought socks there downstairs. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
They had a sock
On the
sale
lower,
there.
on the lower
Yeah.
part on Winchester Avenue, they used to sell socks there.
A big sock sale every year there
Yeah.
for like a weekend or something. It was crazy.
I worked there.
Did you? Man,
Pushed a
you're
broom.
old, Eddie.
I didn't sew.
He didn't.
I pushed a broom.
But he had his sewing machine.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the pilot and give the president the authority to sign.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
And properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, sir. Okay, next up, Gary Wine on the adoption of the 25-26 budget.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you recall, last week, the adoption of the fiscal year 25-26 budget was in front of you. After discussion, we're back today. Again, you have a balanced budget presented to you with the levy rate left where it was previous years at 1339. You funded all the internal requests. You had some other items that I believe can be reviewed to discuss what's wrapped inside of it from highlights. But as it stands today, as presented, leaving the levy rate where it was, it's prepared to be adopted at the commission's direction.
Do we need to untable it first?
We can untable it.
Move to untable.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Okay. By adopting this budget, what we came from was a $51,044,000 budget, $496. This year's budget will be $54,396,403, and the levy rate will remain the same at $13.39. That's no increase on the levy rate. But what you were able to accomplish out of that, having the 403 employees, that you funded the one police social worker for the sheriff's office. You provided funding for the sheriff's department in replacing their aging ballistic vests. Funded 12 professional firefighters in partnership with the Berkeley County Fire Service Board. If you remember, they were splitting the salaries on those 12 new firefighters that will be going out to every fire station in the county, hopefully in July 1. Began implementing a pay grade scale for the animal control. That they did not have that pay grade scale. They were only really emergency services that was not covered through that. All the constitutional officers' requests were funded, with the exception of a small amount for the civil service through the clerk. They did provide a 5% pay increase for all full-time employees with a cap of $4,000, and they continue to work to replace the fleet to keep them up to today's standards. So that's the budget as everybody here had worked on, and I appreciate everybody's efforts and their comments in getting us to this point. Gary was able to provide us with all of the trends of revenue and expenditures that we worked off of to get us to where we were. So I can have a motion to approve this budget.
I would be glad to make that motion, that we approve the budget with the levy rate staying the same for fiscal year 25-26.
I'll second that motion.
Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Warren.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you have a state budget revision.
Yes, sir. As alluded to earlier today, you've had some money that's come in that was some pass-through money and a few other items. You need to realize $474,446. In that, I'm proposing that $319,221 be added to your state grants account. $141,526 be added to your contingency account. $11,592 be added to Sheriff's Law Enforcement. Those are refunds for services billed to different jurisdictions and businesses. And $2,107 be added to your central garage account. And those were reimbursements by your insurance company for accidents. So a total of $474,446.
Very good. A motion to approve the revision number 7 out of Fund 001.
So moved.
Second?
Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, items from the public. Hearing none, seeing none. Need a motion to recess.
Mr. President, I move that we recess.
We are in recess.